in the land of Uforo, a village so old that even the oldest elder could not remember its beginning, there was a law that had never been broken. No child born during the festival of the new moon was to be kept. Not because the village was cruel, but because the oracle had spoken it. And in Uforo, the oracle's words were the words of the earth itself. But on one moonlit night, a woman named Adaize broke that law, and the child she kept would either save Uforo forever or destroy it completely. Her name was Amaka, but the village would one day call her something else. The Oracle's daughter.
O great Oracle of Uforo, accept our sacrifice this new moon.
The night Amaka was born, 3 things happened at once. The river behind the village turned completely still. Every drum in the village fell silent on its own, though no hand had touched them. And the oracle, an ancient blind man who had not left his shrine in 40 years, walked out into the open night air, stood under the full moon, and wept. Nobody had ever seen the oracle weep. The midwife who delivered Amaka ran from the hut without looking back. The neighbors who heard Adazi's screams during labor quietly closed their windows and bolted their doors. Only Adazi's husband, a farmer named Chuku, stayed by his wife's side. When the baby girl finally arrived, she did not cry. She opened her eyes and looked directly at the ceiling, like she was reading something written there that no one else could see. Chuku held his daughter and felt his hands tremble. Not from fear, from something deeper than fear. Something he had no name for. By morning, the village chief had been informed. Chief Okafor was a large, proud man who wore authority like a second skin. He had ruled Uforo for 20 years without incident. He had never lost sleep over anything. But when his messenger returned from the oracle's shrine with a message written on a dried palm leaf, Chief Okafor read it 3 times. Then he called an emergency gathering of the village elders. The message said only 7 words. She has arrived. The prophecy has begun. The elders sat in silence for a long time after hearing those words. Because every elder in that room knew the prophecy. They had heard it as children, whispered by their own grandparents. The prophecy of the oracle's daughter. A girl born during the festival of the new moon, who carries the mark of the forgotten god on her left palm. A girl who would walk between 2 worlds, the world of the living and the world of the unseen. A girl who would one day face a darkness so great that the entire village of Uforo would have to choose: follow her into the unknown or abandon her to save themselves. The elders looked at each other across the fire, and not one of them spoke.
Adaize had noticed it the moment she held her daughter. On Amaka's left palm, a small mark, dark as charcoal, shaped like a crescent moon swallowing a star. She had wrapped it quickly in cloth before anyone else could see. But the oracle already knew. He always knew. That afternoon, the oracle sent his only attendant, a young boy named Dede, to Adaize's home with a single instruction. Tell the mother to bring the child to my shrine at midnight. Tell her to come alone, and tell her
Dede paused, remembering the exact words. Tell her that what has been written cannot be unwritten, but what has been carried can be carried wisely or carelessly. The choice is hers. Adaze stood in her doorway for a long time after Dede left. Then she looked down at the sleeping child in her arms. Amaka's tiny fingers were coiled into a fist, even in sleep, like she was holding on to something, or holding something back.
The shrine of the oracle sat at the edge of the village where the forest began. At midnight, Adaze walked that path alone, with Amaka strapped on her back. The trees on either side of the path were ancient, their roots so thick they broke through the ground like the knuckles of buried giants. Adaze had walked this path once before, years ago. Before her marriage, she had come to ask the oracle if she would ever have children. He had told her yes, but he had said it with sadness in his voice. She had not understood why then. She understood now. The oracle sat beside the fire. He was impossibly old. His skin was like the bark of an ancient tree. His eyes had been sealed shut for so long that the flesh had grown over them. But when Adaze stepped into the shrine, he turned his face directly toward her. "You brought her," he said. "I brought her," Adaze replied. "Sit." Adaze sat across the fire from the oracle. She unstrapped Amaka from her back and held her in her arms. The oracle was quiet for a long moment. The fire crackled between them. Then he said, "Your daughter is not like other children. She was born with a door inside her. A door that connects this world to the world behind the world." Most people live their whole lives never knowing that door exists. Your daughter will not have that luxury. She will hear things others cannot hear. She will see things others cannot see. She will carry knowledge that will feel like a curse before it ever feels like a gift. The village will fear her. Some will hate her. Some will try to use her. And one day, and this day is already coming, something old and hungry will wake up in this land. And it will come looking for her specifically. Raise her to trust what she sees, even when others call her mad. And when the time comes, he paused. The fire between them rose suddenly, tall and bright, then settled back down. When the time comes, let her go. Adaze said nothing for a long time. Then she looked down at her daughter. Amaka was awake. Her small dark eyes were open, and she was looking directly at the oracle across the fire, like she understood every single word. 7 years passed. Amaka grew. She was a quiet child, watchful. Still, she rarely ran and screamed with the other children. She preferred to sit at the edge of the river and stare into the water for hours. When adults asked her what she was looking at, she would say, "The people underneath." The adults would laugh nervously and change the subject and walk away a little faster than necessary.
The children her age kept their distance from Amaka. Not because they disliked her, but because being around her made them feel like they were being watched by something bigger than a 7-year-old girl. Only one child was different. A boy named Kofi, the son of a neighboring farmer, who had decided on the first day of school that Amaka was the most interesting person he had ever met. "What do you see in the river?" he asked her one afternoon. Amaka looked at him. Most people looked away when she looked at them directly. Kofi did not. "Faces," she said simply. Kofi nodded like this was perfectly normal. "Whose faces?" Amaka turned back to the water. "People who lived here before us. They are watching the village. They are worried about something." Kofi sat down beside her on the riverbank. "About what?" Amaka was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that Kofi would remember for the rest of his life. About what is coming.
It happened on a Tuesday morning. The baobab tree at the center of Uforo, a tree so old that no one knew who had planted it, a tree that had survived storms and droughts and fires, split straight down the middle, without warning, without wind, without any reason. It simply split from the top of his trunk all the way to the roots, like something had pushed it apart from the inside. The village gathered around it in silence. Nobody touched it. Nobody spoke. Then old Mama Ngozi, the oldest woman in Uforo, who claimed to be 103 years old and was probably not lying, pointed at the split trunk and said in a cracked voice, "It has started." Everyone turned to look at her. "What has started?" Chief Okafo demanded. Mama Ngozi looked at him with eyes that had seen more of the world than he could imagine. "What the oracle warned us about 40 years ago. What your father refused to believe. What his father buried and tried to forget." She lowered her hand. "The darkness is awake. And it is hungry. And it already knows where to find what it needs." Chief Okafor straightened. "We will call the oracle. He will tell us." "The oracle is dead," Mama Ngozi said quietly. Silence fell over the crowd like a heavy cloth. "He died this morning, 1 hour before the tree split. He knew it was coming. He has been preparing for this for 40 years. She turned and looked across the gathered crowd, past the adults, past the elders, until her eyes found a small, still figure standing at the back. Amaka. The 7-year-old girl stood perfectly calm in the middle of the panicking crowd. Her hand was open at her side. The mark on her palm, the crescent moon swallowing a star, was glowing faintly, like an ember that would not go out. Mama Ngozi looked at the child for a long moment. Then she said, quietly enough that only those closest to her could hear, "She is the
only oracle now. She closed her hand into a fist. The glow faded, and she walked towards the split tree. The crowd parted before her without thinking. Even Chief Okafor stepped aside. Amaka stood before the broken baobab. She placed her palm against the back, and from somewhere deep beneath the earth, deep beneath the roots of the oldest tree in Ufaro, something answered. To be continued in episode 2. The Oracle's Daughter. The village that forgot its promise.